It's DJ Chase, the pregame party mix podcast, Worldwide Sounds Records on, man. I've been grinding, I've been working, man. We got a special interview for you guys today. We got my guy, the one and only Billy Dee Williams, aka Billy Dee, aka the Williams, aka the Owl Guy. What's up? What's shaking?
Hey man, I'm chilling, bro. Good to be here with you, man.
Of course, man. I'm actually kind of nervous to do this interview because you kind of hot right now, in LA. What's up? What's up with that?
Oh man, well, I'm out here doing my thing, baby.
Definitely, man. I like your style. I got my notes ready for you today. I got my notes, so we're gonna talk. We're gonna chop it up. I know my podcast. I focus on the music. I don't talk about too much gossip. We focus on the music. So the podcast is really dope, and I want my New York fans to get to know you. You know what I'm saying? So first and foremost, yeah. So first and foremost, tell the people who you are and what you do.
Well, I go by the name I am Billy Dee. That's my name, Billy Dee, and I do this here music, man. I make these melodies and I write these lyrics to these songs, to these crazy beats that are produced by people like producer AI, the one and only. I got this awesome record called Abundance that's out right now, produced by producer AI, all 12 tracks, and it's a soundscape. I'm taking you to multiple dimensions, and the goal is to just cause the world to just vibrate at a higher frequency, man.
Definitely.
Player shit.
Respect. Hold on, I gotta do this one time. I gotta pop my. I ain't got no collar, but I gotta pop. I'm a big fan. I'm a huge fan of West Coast hip hop. I've been all over the world and still haven't been to Cali yet, so I'm ashamed of myself.
Yeah, you gotta come through, man.
Definitely, I gotta pull up on you.
Now we open.
So let me ask you this question, man. Billy Dee, is that your real name?
That is my real name, man. I'm named after my mother.
Wait, what?
My mother's name is Billy.
Okay.
But hers is with an I-E. Mine is with a Y.
Okay.
And the D comes from my father's name. His name is Danny. And so they just used the D, styled it out with the double E.
Yeah.
And here I am.
God, that's crazy, bro. And being from the West Coast, because I know the East Coast definitely has influenced me, shape like what I do, specifically me being a DJ and a producer as well as a host. But does the West Coast, because I know the air is lovely out there. You got palm trees, y'all got beautiful weather all year round. You got 4-lane highways. As you can tell, I've heard about the great things of California. Has that shaped your music?
Absolutely. When I come on here talking about making the world vibrate at a higher frequency off some player shit, you talking to somebody that's from California, either LA or the Bay. And that's really kind of the influence, man. If you're in California, you're out here doing some kind of hustling, man, or you running the streets in some fashion. And so that everyday lifestyle does affect you, even if you no matter how close you are to the action or far away, the vibes out here in California. It's the frequency that we're on. And, I came up in a time where gangbanging, it's always been real, but it was really real. And that influenced my upbringing, and that influenced my understanding, and influenced my sound. I came up, in a time where we had, really legendary artists that formed a legendary sound called G-Funk, which the world had never seen before. So, this is the era I'm coming up and observing as a youngster, and being influenced by, and then carrying that into today.
Copy. And okay, now I know all about. Listen, it's crazy. I never been to California, but I grew up on West Coast music because it's crazy. Like I love the West Coast music so much. Who influenced you from the West? Like who specifically influenced you from the West Coast?
From the West Coast, there's so many. I like to say I'm primarily influenced by the West Coast, but if we talking East Coast, we can get into that too. I have some influences there as well.
Okay.
But primarily for me, I think first getting my attention in rap was DJ Quick.
Okay.
It was his musicality. It was the fact that it was like he sounded like Eazy-E, but everything was more musical. It seemed like his beats and everything was just kind of more down the lane that I was into. And so and it was more. It had that player vibe. That's what I realized later, is that was the player vibe coming through, and then I got exposed to the Bay. I got exposed to
Yeah.
Too Short, Ant
Yeah.
Banks.
Yeah.
It was
I'm
one of
I'm a
my
I'm a I'm a big Drew Down fan, bro. You have no
hell yeah.
idea.
Drew
Yeah.
Down, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that whole scene during the '90s, Too Short and the Dangerous Crew, and that just was it. And of course, you have the greats here. You have the Ice Cubes, Dr. Dre, the NWA influence, Snoop Dogg, the Dog Pound, the Lady of Rage, who I have on my album, and that's a huge influence in terms of that West Coast influence. And of course, we here on the West Coast, we're all of us are so much influenced by musicians, coming through the Bay, and of course in LA, we have so many great musicians that have influenced us as, I guess, hip hop artists or whatever we are classified as now. But we're influenced by Bootsy Collins. We're influenced by George Clinton. We're influenced by, you know what I'm saying, Rick James. We're influenced by these great funk pioneers and icons and musicians, Isaac Hayes and Marvin Gaye and Michael Jackson, Stevie, and the list goes on. So there's a lot of influences here that have influenced the influence. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. And because you definitely hitting on some topics, and we're gonna get into all of that too. But what one thing with me that I've noticed is LA gang culture influencing the rest of the world.
Absolutely.
You got cats in New York that's banging for it. They've never even been on a plane, and they're
Right.
banging sets from California.
Right.
How do you feel about that? Like, do you feel like is it a prideful thing, or do you feel like it's maybe like a detriment, like it gives a bad stigma to California, specifically LA? Excuse me.
Yeah. No. The stigma is real.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
thing, is I don't really feel like it gives it a stigma. The stigma is there for everyone else to observe and be aware of. It's real.
Yeah.
Um, but everybody loves someone who's willing to put it all on the line. And
Mm.
these dudes that's repping these neighborhoods, they're willing to do that. They're willing to take it there. And so
Yeah.
people are drawn to that. People are inspired by that. That's why people love Tupac so much, because he was willing to die for what he represented.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
ultimately did. It's the classic hero story. And
Mm.
so people are definitely always moved by that. It's an archetype in literature as well. And
Mm.
so it moves people. Jesus Christ died on the cross for what he represented. That's what gangbangers do. It's no
Yeah.
different. And still to this day, this is why Nipsey Hussle was such an important figure in our society and in culture, is because he married that line pushing myth, is the person who's willing to die for it all. I'm gonna push this line to the death, and it was for the benefit of not just himself but for his people. And it's that whole Jesus Christ gangbanger collab thing, and it just really rocked us all, because he was more than just some nigga from the hood. He
Yeah.
was a figure that represented something more aspirationally for all of us. So
Mm.
that gangbanging stuff, man, you see how I tied it all up and ended up with Nipsey? That's what it is, man. And that's why it's so powerful, is you end up with that scenario, and then we end up with a 25-mile procession through our city streets for what they call the gangbang.
Yeah. Yeah. And what part of LA are you from?
I'm from a city called Covina,
Mm.
which is actually a suburb of LA,
Okay.
outside of LA, about probably like 30 minutes from downtown LA. I
Mm.
was raised in Hollywood to about the age of 10, and we moved out to the Covinas, as they're sometimes called on the news. But
Yeah.
first we moved into West Covina, and then into a smaller town inside of that called Covina.
I
So, you know
got
what I'm
you.
saying? I like to represent my whole little area right there. You know what I mean?
Got you. And we always hear about the South Central. We always hear about Watts, California. Do you feel like you have to put Covina on the map? Because we don't hear a lot about that. We hear about the Comptons and like I said, even in San Diego to a point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So do
yeah.
you have to feel like you have to put Covina on the map?
That's a good question, man, because for a long time I did. For a long time I really had that on my back, like, man. But then I started to think, it's the city is not something that necessarily that needs to put on the map. I think as long as if I get put on the map, then the city will as well, because I can't not talk about it. I have like a romance with the city that I was kind of brought up in, and so Covina is something that I do write about and share my music. But it's not something to where I feel like it rivals the city of Compton in its legendary status or anything like that. But there's some really great creative artists that have not only come from that area and that the world knows of today, but that are still there and have yet to be discovered. I do feel it rivals the Comptons and the Long Beaches in terms of talent. Like when there was a time where all you had to do was just be from, even to this day, all you had to do is just kind of be from Compton and really, you know what I'm saying, really be from Compton. If you could be verified, then man, and you could rap, man, you got something.
Yeah, that stamp. That stamp. You gotta have that stamp. Yeah, yeah.
There was a time where you could just be from Long Beach.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? And so, but it's because there's a pool of talent that people finally wake up to. And that's definitely in the Covina, West Covina, the San Gabriel Valley area, period, here in California, is a pool of talent that's yet to be tapped into.
Definitely. And I see the bees on your neck, brother. Now we're gonna get to this East Coast, the G Funk and the yes, exactly. Were you influenced by like Africa Bambaataa? Because you remind me of Africa Bambaataa, like a new age Bambaataa, Zulu Nation, Soul Sonic Force. Like, did that on the East Coast? Did that kind of influence you like on your style, or was it just like who you really are? I mean, of course it's who you really are, but did that influence you a little bit?
Yeah, not necessarily Bambaataa. I'm very aware of Bambaataa. I'm very aware of his stamp and legacy in the culture. But when I'm rocking stuff like this more than anything comes from my dad. And so my dad would sit down and rap to me, not with actual bars, but with, you know what I'm saying,
with
just
words,
man talk, and would break things down.
Yeah.
But in terms of hip hop, and you can hear some of this influence on the album, is definitely groups like X Clan. It was something about Brother Jay's voice and cadence when he would spit. You know what I'm saying? Abracadabra, a la baby professor, all hell funkin' lesson, sweet tongue grand writer of scrolls. Now behold, let the legend unfold. I felt like it was a comic book jumped out at me through the speakers.
Yeah.
And I said, this dude is a superhero, man. And his cadence has so much confidence and authority. And I said, man, I want to rap like that. And I always want to rap like Brother Jay. And I know it's a lot of dudes, but they were also tapped into that funk sound with Parliament, using a lot of Parliament samples and things like that. Which for a West Coast kid, it was that's right down my lane. So that's why it was groups like X Clan, groups like EPMD, Redman, and guys like that tapped into that same funk sound. Those were the things that kind of came over and got to me. And that I resonated with over here. So it's definitely a good and balanced East Coast influence for me. And this is and my study into the history of our culture is the reason why you see me and hear me proudly proclaim on the album that my name is Billy Dee and I'm down by law, because I know what that means. And I say that because it's not something that's talked about anymore as far as being down by law. And so I wanted to state that, and I wanted to put that out there for food for thought, for conversation purposes. What does it mean? What is that?
Of course. Yeah. Now you mentioned this. This is what I want to say to you, because this is my later question for you, because you definitely like really, really switch it. You switch it from Autotune to hip hop to funk to G funk. Yeah. Okay, I have to ask this now. This is going to be an intense question for you. Ohio players or Funkadelic or Parliament and Funk Parliament Funkadelic. Who you got? Who's better?
Ooh, well, I gotta go with George. I gotta go with George and them. If we talking Parliament, we talking Funkadelic, we talking Parliament Funkadelic. We talking Bootsy and his rubber band. We talking all of that.
Yeah,
I think it's just the legacy that maybe it's just that there's more known about George and his tribe, let's say, you know what I'm saying, that Funkadelic tribe. But the lineage, man, you gotta understand, George Clinton was blessed to have the James Brown's band come to him. You know what I'm saying? And so it goes from James to George and on from there. And so for me, it's like that's like a holy lineage. You know what I mean?
I just want to know. I gotta check these things. I gotta check these things,
Yeah.
man. Listen, I bought a Chevy. I only drive Chevys because of West Coast. I literally only drive Chevys. Like I just bought a Chevy last year.
Yes,
And with
sir.
that being said, you are. Let's get into this. The ladies, man.
Yeah.
You go hard. The ladies that you pick.
Thank
You're
you,
very
sir.
particular on the ladies, the way they look.
Yes.
What makes you cater to the ladies, bro?
I think it's the way I was raised. I think it was the music that I was brought up on. Listening to R&B in the '80s and '90s, man. Talking about you know I got the Midas touch. Everything I touch turns to gold. That's game. That's just brothers with jerry curls and leather pants saying sweet words and trying to get these ladies up out their drawers, man. And they had, and they was in roller skates, and you know what I'm saying? And it was just, and we got palm trees out here, man, and we got beautiful sisters out here, and we got beautiful Latinas running around. We got some Pacific Islanders out here, man. The beautiful Asian women from all of the different places, man. I mean, this you can't not. And so it's definitely something that I key into because, it's just something that inspires me. I love beauty, as you could tell. So beauty and art and all of that stuff go hand in hand. So it's God's creation, man. We just giving praise where it's due. Yeah,
So
yeah,
now,
I gotta pop the collar on that one.
yeah, man, and you're a very diverse artist, bro. Like, how are you able to go from a badass auto tune record to really rapping? How are you able to do that? Do you do that on? And then also too, do you do that on purpose?
Yes. I definitely use the auto tune on purpose as kind of a thumb in the eye or a finger in the face to people who hate for no stupid reason. Like, I remember the anti-auto tune movement came out, and when I first, okay, let me go back. When I first heard of auto tune, it was mind blowing. I was like, they have that. You don't have to have a box and a tube in your mouth to
Yeah,
achieve this dope electronic futuristic sound. I said, man, sign me up as a really young person hearing about auto tune for the first time. And because it reminded me of Talkbox, which I grew up with listening to Roger Troutman, who I forgot to mention earlier as far as an influence, especially out here on the West Coast. I remember my parents telling me a story of Roger Troutman and the Roxy walking across the tables playing guitar, jumped out the window, come around, jump in the other window back to the stage. These are the days out here in LA on Hollywood Boulevard and Sunset and
Woo!
things like that that I grew up hearing about and inspiring me. So
Yeah,
Roger Troutman created or brought out the talk box, depending on how the history goes. But I love that sound. I love that you could sing and make it sound like a machine. And so auto tune was like the next evolution of that because now you could actually kind of sound electronic and robotic and futuristic, but it's still your voice and you can still have inflection and things like that. So I like that part. And I'm fortunate, God has blessed me with a true ability to sing. So it's not a method to or a crutch to assist me in getting to where I can't go on my own. It's something just to make it sound more trippy because I'm a stoner too. You know what I mean? So yeah, I like things that sound trippy. I love Star Wars and Star Trek and all of
yeah,
that stuff. So and so there's part of me that loves that as well.
yeah. And recently you did the Fat Joe podcast, Big Things, Big Things. How was that experience for you, man?
Oh man, it was exhilarating as you might suspect. I mean, as you might assume. I mean, talking to the legendary figure like Fat Joe is amazing. To have him stop his day and spend a few minutes looking your way. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's being acknowledged by somebody who you admire, being acknowledged by somebody who's done and had great accomplishments in this game. And not just then, but now too. I love his story and how he's never been out of circulation. He's never been somebody who was, fell off or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's a true figure, man, and he's a definite example of someone who can create and then recreate again and then continue to build. And I want to be like Fat Joe. You feel me? So that it was dope. It was really a great experience. And then it was funny, man. I'll share with you. We wanted to play some music from the album, But there was a bit of a snafu in getting everything prepared. We were
Yeah.
getting ready for the interview, and we weren't able to have that even ready.
Yeah.
But I was prepared because I had been, I got these verses in my head and stuff, and I'm like, man, I can spit though, man. I don't need those speakers, but I got these bars, and so it was better, and it was more for me, it was more meaningful to be able to have that rite of passage with an OG like that, like to bend his ear with a few bars. So that made it actually for me, in retrospect, even more special than if everything had gone as planned.
Okay. And the new album, that's why we here. Abundance.
Yeah.
That's why we here. Now, I have to ask this before I get into the question. Are you constantly trained in music? Like, do you have a musical background? Like, cause you're like freaking dope, bro. Like, are you like trained in music? Like,
Not in a classical sense, and not
yeah,
in a schooling sense. But I would say yes, I'm very trained. I'm like without sounding, I don't know another way to say it. It may sound corny, however sound. I'm like a Jedi, man. I've been an apprentice to a lot of great wielders of this particular sword and style.
yeah.
And so yes, from the time I was very young, as far as music is concerned, my dad got me with his good friend Ronnie Jones, who was a bass player, musician, and he began showing me how to record on a 4-track, how to take the lyrics I'm writing and match them to the beat, and displaying for me, programming a beat on the drum machine, and then laying tracks with his bass. You know what I'm saying, right alongside that, and so that's kind of where that started. Then I went on my own for a while through high school, and then in the late '90s, I met this cat who I haven't had a chance to talk about before, but I met this cat in the late '90s named Timothy Cobb, and he's probably out there somewhere. And this is the first time I mentioned his name in an interview, but I met this cat named T. He was called TC. I just knew him as TC for most of the time, from Atlanta. And so it was the first, in the late '90s, meeting a cat from Atlanta out here with that accent, and talking about the music game, and then being able to get. And I went into his studio, and it was the first time I saw Logic on a computer. And
Mm.
this is, like I said, this is like '97, '98, and he's tracking and doing all this using the computer as the basis of it. And I was blown away. And so that was great tutelage, working with him and getting in an actual booth, and then learning more about mixing and working in a studio. And then another period of time on my own, and I was fortunate enough to meet another TC, a brother by the name of Todd Colazzo. This is my first time talking about him as well.
Okay.
This is later on in my development as an artist. At this particular time, I was in the church heavy, and I was doing a lot of gospel rap. And this was a Puerto Rican cat, out of the Bronx, and living out here. And I connected with him through some friends, and it was just a blessing because he really like made me focus on what I'm doing when I'm in front of the mic, and projecting, controlling, planning it out in my head, and that really created, I think, the Billy Dee that is evolved today was my sessions with TC Todd Colazzo, aka Nix. Um, that really kind of, because he was hard on me, and there were
Mm.
days I'd be on the mic. It was like, how people describe Dr. Dre. There
Yeah.
were days like that for me with Todd Colazzo, man, where I was at the mic wanting to kind of either fight him or cry or punch something. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so yes, I do feel trained, man. I do feel like I've been trained, and I can't forget my high school teacher in choir, Judd Bonner. I did have a choir class, and I remember a lot of the things that he taught me. You would think it's just a high school choir class, that's nothing. But there were key things I learned from him that I still use and still think about to this day. So when you say trained, I gotta say yes.
Got
And
you.
that's
Got you.
why I can't name you a school to make it easy. I gotta name you a couple of teachers that I've had.
Listen, I was the same way. Like me being a producer, like it feels good to hear somebody actually talk about music the way you talk about it. Like,
Yeah,
because I like nobody knows. I'm like, listen, bro, do you know how to record? Do you know about track outs? Do you know about pre-production?
yeah,
The good old days of recording engineering, like when
yeah,
we came about. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Yeah, processes to the
Uh
thing, bro.
when I first used Pro Tools, bro, it was blocks. That's the Pro Tools I started on. It was block. There was no track. It was just a block. You had to move it. There was no grid mode in Pro Tools when I started. Ah, the good old
Rough
days,
stuff.
man. The good old
Rough
days.
stuff.
And the abundance. What inspired that title? What made that title come about?
Um, Probably the utter desire for it, the utter desire to know what it's about, and to live it, and to do what they call live abundantly. Tired of the scarcity mindset. I don't know if I had that clearly defined at the beginning of this process, but I just knew I wanted to speak it. The thing that I wanted to speak it. And
Yeah,
so abundance is probably I haven't had anybody say this about it, but I kind of was scared that it might be perceived as being preachy, confrontational in some way. But did also want to clarify that I'm talking to myself a lot on that track. So when I'm going hard and I'm talking, you know what I'm saying, and I'm saying these cold things, some of it is examining myself. You know what I'm saying? Some of it is a self-examination because after all, I'm trying to manifest this abundance. So first I got to clean it out the back house. I got to address, you know what I'm saying? I got to pull back the covers of my own and say, this is what it is, this is what's blocking, and this is what's here. We got to get this out of the way, address it, and then clear it and move on. So some of that is some personal introspection,
yeah,
examination that I'm sharing, and some of it is an examination of the external as well. But
yeah,
yeah, man, it's trying to bring it forward, trying to call it forth, this whole thing. And so every vibe on the 12 tracks, these are things that we're calling out from the universe, calling out from the ether, or however you want to say, from the spirit realm, wherever you want to call it out from. It got to come out. We want justice for our people. We want the police to stop brutalizing people. We
yeah.
want abundance. We want our families together. We want love. We want hot sex. We want good weed. We want to make this money, man, and we want to not harm anybody in the process. This is a you know what I'm saying, a slice of life that some of us want. Maybe you want some other things, but whatever it is, you set your mind for it and you go after it, and the goal is to achieve it while doing no harm to anyone else and not being a shitty person. You know what I'm saying?
Of course, big bro. And you know how we are. When's your birthday?
December 12th, man. 12
Uh,
12.
oh, you're Sagittarius, right? So
Yes, sir.
I'm a Cancer. I'm July
Okay.
1st. So we definitely be like trying to look at people and study people.
Yes.
Is that part of like the owl with the crown on it? Do you feel, because I hate to do this. Drake does the owl. So is the owl with the crown on it symbolize, is it some sort of symbolism but with the owl and the crown on it?
Yeah, there's a few people that do the whole owl imagery thing.
Yeah.
I came to it in my own unique way. Definitely, kind of I dig what Drake does with it. For me, it's more of who I am. It's more of I'm a somewhat of a Bible student, and a lot of what you see in the Bible is personification or anthropomorphism, as some people say, when you get deep into theology. And this is where you use animals to signify personality points of human beings,
Yeah.
um, and character attributes and so on. And so when you look at the owl and you observe the owl, and you observe me, you know what I'm saying, you can see a lot of similarities in terms of how the owl maneuvers. But before I can even get there, December, actually the same period for Sagittarius astrologically, as far as the zodiac,
Yeah.
is also for Native Americans, and the Native American totem is the time of the owl.
Mm.
So that's another connection point with me and this particular creature. But it's an observant animal. Owls are seen to be wise. I always remember the Tootsie Roll Pop owl. How many licks, and what I'm saying, everybody goes to the wise owl, and he's got the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? He's got
Yeah.
and he's wearing that mortar board on his head, you know, that they call a graduate's cap. So he's got knowledge.
Yeah,
He could
yeah.
tell you, he could tell you how many licks, but you know, he could give you the number of licks, but that's not what he said. There's a reason why he's
He said
answering the
how.
way
He
he
said,
is.
yeah. It says how many. You know, it's good marketing. You know how
You
that
feel
goes.
me?
They trying to.
At the same,
They
good
trying to.
marketing and esoteric message delivery at the same time.
Yeah, and with the record top down, which is my I ain't gonna lie, that record is hard, bro. You
Thank you, bro.
definitely you blew the bag on a video for that one. You went hard. That video
Hey
is
man, thank you. I
hard,
appreciate
bro.
that, bro.
You
Thank you so
know,
much.
yeah. How in the world did you put Edie Amin and Fatboy SSU on the same record? How in the world did you pull that off?
It was actually, man, it was the hardest part, I guess, was just getting the verse from Fatboy SSC. But you know, reaching out to him wasn't that hard, man. You know, he was actually really easy to get in contact with, man.
Oh wow.
And it just took a little while to get the vocals. Sometimes, you know, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
Edie is somebody that I was blessed to meet in a studio session right there in Covina. A brother by the name of KC, a great engineer and artist out here, Kevin Selleck. He was working one night, and Edie was coming through to do some work, and so he told me, he said, "Hey man, I need you on some stuff, bro. Can we work on some stuff?" And then guess what? Edie Amin from the Outlaws is coming through after, man. So you might get to meet him. I said, I'm pulling up. So I was blessed to meet him that night. I think it was 2018, and just kept that relationship, man. And we worked on something that night. It was real magical in the studio.
Yeah.
I won't go into it, but and we just kept that relationship. Then he had me on his album, and we were just rocking, man. And I was working on a different album at the time,
Yeah.
Hunger for Love, which is still on the way. And so I had him jump on that. And then when we retooled and we came back and started working on Abundance,
Yeah.
you know, I threw him top down. I already had Fatboy on it. And so I slid it to him, and he iced it out. So it was easy, man.
Let me tell you something, bro. First of all, Edie Amin sound like a fresh seasoned chicken. Like he sounds like it just came out. Like he sounds like a so fresh, and if it sounded so refresh. Like you killed it as well.
Thank you, brother.
He sounded so like it just sounded great. Like he killed that. Like he killed. I mean, everybody did good. Yes. But the way he came off on that record was tough, bro. Like
it was like it was the OG role, bro. It was like, you know what I'm saying? He played the OG role in the whole scenario, man. So of course, he had more sauce and more game.
Woo! And then, yeah. And so let me ask you this question: do you self-produce your music, or somebody else produce? I gotta ask for my producers. I'm a producer, so I gotta ask.
Yeah.
Who produced the record?
Yeah, as I was saying at the top, man, producer AI, Alex Ibarra, he goes by producer AI. He, you know, his crew, the crew that we're part of is called Illegal Productions. And that's how we rocking out. And so all 12 of those tracks on my album were produced by producer AI.
Producer AI.
One guy
salute.
giving you all those sounds.
Salute to producer AI, man. And you know the intro, we got to talk about the big intro because it's the Judas and the Black Messiah. It's Black History Month, man. The Lady of Rage, Mr. Mr. Yeah. How do we get the Lady of Rage out of retirement? How do we pull that off?
Man, that's another one, man. It's just really legendary, man, to be able to say that I got her on a record, man.
Yeah.
But it goes back to, I met her, I think, in 2008 or 9, randomly working out in a 24-hour fitness. And I was at a different place in my life, but I was still doing music, and we started a conversation, and she just showed love, man. She was open to working with me then. And this is however many years ago. And so now, fast forward to today, this time is coming around, and then producer AI, he makes this beat. That thing's going crazy. And in the beat, boom, boom, and I'm like, because I'm that lyrical murderer, pleading guilty. From my skills, I'm about
to be filthy, large, raging charge. Yeah,
I'm hearing it. Yeah. And so I said, I have to try. And so I did my research. I found out who to talk to. and I reached out to that person. I got a hold of that person, and that person put me in contact, and so on. And then we were able to make it work, man. And again, it did take a little while to get the vocals in, but once I got them, boy, it was on and popping that night. So
let me tell you something. First and foremost, you are the only person like in the last about 15 years that got a Lady of Rage verse, dog. Like, salute you on that, bro.
I had, you know what? I'm gonna tell you, it sparked my mind. MC8.
Yeah.
MC8 did a record with her recently within the last couple years. And I was like, oh yeah, the Lady of Rage, man. She's still doing her thing because yeah, we hadn't heard from her. We've seen her in a lot of, I've seen a lot of movies. She did more acting.
She did more acting, yeah.
Yeah, she got more into acting. So when I seen that was even more confirmation. And so when this time came, I had to get her, and she was graciously, obliged me, man. And you heard that verse.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That meant something to her, man. She went in, bro. She had some things to say on the topic. You know what I mean?
Definitely, bro. I've been listening. I've been since CP sent me the record. Since sent me the album, I was like, oh, this is, yeah. It's a vibe. It's a vibe. And what I like about your album is because me being a producer and an executive producing albums myself, like the 12 tracks, it's just enough meat and potatoes for. You know what I'm saying? It don't get boring, but it's like right there. You know what I'm saying?
Right when you get to the end of it, you've had it.
You had it, yeah, and it gives you that vibe, bro. And it's two people on this album that are heavy on. I know I gotta ask about them, Lido P and my boy Clico. How are y'all a crew? What's up?
Well, this all goes back to LP. This is our crew. So in our crew, it's myself. Obviously, it's producer AI. Kind of running point on everything, but we got Mason King, Tic Tac Montana, M4. These are all different artists that are part of the crew, and the list goes on. It's actually quite a few. It's some like Wu-Tang type numbers. You know what I'm saying?
Of course,
it's like a football team of dudes. So, and 9 times. Normally, how it works is whoever's in the studio, we working.
Yeah.
So it's just funny that those nights we worked on those records, Lido was there or Clico was there when I'm there. And so, but it was perfect because when we did Space, I don't think there was anybody better for the album at that time. And he was there that night, and we just clicked on that idea, and it came together off of the beat that AI made. It all started with the beat, kind of telling us the direction to go in. So there are times I'll come into the studio with some feelings, some vibes, some things I'm thinking about, and then AI will make a beat. And it's crazy. A lot of times that beat will just go link right into where I'm at spiritually and emotionally at the time.
Yeah.
And it just comes out that way. And then that beat will make me think of that topic, or it'll give me the phrase. Sometimes the beat will give you the phrase.
Yeah.
So that's always the most exciting part, is when you get it, when the beat starts talking to you.
Yeah.
And Lido was there for a lot of those sessions, man. Clico as well, especially towards the end, because a lot of stuff Clico's on are stuff we picked up towards the end of the sessions that we were having for the album.
Yeah.
And man, it was good stuff, all good stuff. And we got more, man. We got even more stuff, boy.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear it, big bro. And before we get out of here, this is my last question of the night, right? I always ask my artists this question, that it don't matter who it is, right? Because my show is definitely dedicated to independent artists. I'm an advocate. You know how we are. We come from a different era, so we fought for the independent movement.
Right.
With illegal productions, your label, or just yourself, are you looking to be independent, or are you looking for a major deal?
I'm open, man. I'm open. Obviously, the idea of being independent is that you're in the control seat as much as possible. And then the idea of working with a label is now you have some capital to work with. And in this game, man, capital is king.
So listen, I seen that top down video, so
player. Yeah. Yes, sir. So you know that, and you have to imagine that feeling.
Yeah.
Because it's hey, you doing what you got to do, but a player still knows what a player is. When that wallet is looking like it's looking, it's like, okay, all right, we making moves out here, man. We believing in the dream. We trust in the process. And so yeah, man. It'd be way better to have somebody else's biscuit and risk it rather than risk my own, so to speak. Um, and I'm open, man. I'm open to collaborating because that's what it would have to be in order for it to happen. It would have to feel more like a collaboration. But I do believe in the independent grind, the independent hustle that says an
Yeah.
artist doesn't need a label. But an artist does need capital, unfortunately. Unless magic happens. Magic is always out there, and you can go looking for magic, and that's where the certain strategies that come to play. It's people looking for the viral moment, looking for something to connect, to translate. And you can go looking for magic and you know, and it's tough without capital. It's a dream, it's a complete dream without strategy and some capital and some connections and all of that real stuff, man. And
Yeah.
so the independent grind is real, and there's smart things you can do to set yourself up and to be ready. But it's at this point, it's about presenting your product as best as possible to make the statement that you want to leave. Like, and that's been my thing is I want to make this moment the moment as much as I can, so that if I don't get to the next album, you know what I'm saying? If this was the one, I want this to be the one. Or if the next one is the one, I want you to still be able to look back and say, well, damn, the first album was pretty good too. You know what I mean? It's like that's how I want to do it. I want it to be like no matter where someone finds me at in the process, they can look back or forward over my catalog and find things that they're very, very pleased with.
Of course, brother. And you know, the last and final question is, do you have any artist advice for any artist that's coming to look, because you got a big you doing it. You know what I'm saying? You're
Yeah,
doing it. Even as an independent artist, you're doing it. You look like you're major already. And there's gonna
yeah,
be when the shows open back up, I definitely know there's a tour coming. I know you got a lot of stuff cooking. So do you have any advice for any up and coming independent artists?
Yes. Throw quitting out of your mind. Just forget quitting. You can't quit. Like if you know, some people are playing with this and they don't really do this. Those people will probably phase off. But there's been people who are this is what you wanted to do since very, very young. This is all you can think about. You can't even listen to music right because they be messing with you. You know what I'm saying? Like things bother it, like you're more sensitive to things than others. Like when it's your passion, there's things you can't run from. Like you got to forget quitting. Like, cause sometimes our emotions make us feel like, oh, I give up, man, I don't want to do this anymore, and all that. You got to just get past that. So get yourself past that.
Yeah.
Realize that you have to do this. You're gonna follow this until it ends itself, and this is what it is. And then that's the first step because once you do that, and that links it to your identity. Now you've accepted this is who I am, and then once you do that, it's amazing how once you accept who you are and start walking in it, things start opening up. You start meeting people. Think you know this connection happens and this opportunity comes because finally you're being you. You're in the flow of who you are. So that's step number one. Step number two is find producer AI and get him to make a beat for you and record with him and mix your project. That's step number two. No, number one, sorry. And then step number two is find Creative Panda Marketing and get her to help you. And then step three is get this man right here to interview you. And you put this stuff together and you on your way, baby. You on your way. You know what I'm saying?
Now,
But
much appreciated, brother. Much
make the best
appreciated.
music you can make. Make
Word.
music that makes people feel a little, it's gotta feel dangerous. It's gotta be dangerous, it's gotta be cutting edge. You gotta stop the scroll. That's
Yeah.
my motto is on Instagram, everybody's scrolling. You gotta do something to make them stop the
Yeah.
scroll. You gotta break through, man. If you're not making music, if you're making music middle of the road or just blah, man, forget all that. You gotta crack the dome, man. You gotta crack the sky open for these people and show them something they ain't seen before or seen in a while or quite seen like that. You got to do it, cutting edge, and yeah.
And you know what? I'm gonna ask this too, since you go on a roll right now. Now, any advice for artists that's trying to get them big features?
Yes, yes. The obvious things are the obvious things. Your business is gonna be the business. So handle the business. But when you handle the business, make sure you get everything on paper, man. They
Yes.
have something called a term sheet or a split sheet, some kind of contract written and signed that outlines everything that you expect from said artist, so that you make sure that you're happy with the outcome. Because if you're going to be doing money, aka doing business, aka spending money, I said doing money. You're gonna be doing business.
It is what it is. It is what it is, brother. Yeah. Definitely, man. Thank you so much, Billy Dee. Thank you very much, brother. Thank you very much for coming on my podcast, man. Give your social medias, shout everything out, man. Plug everything, bro.
It's your boy, I am Billy Dee here, man, and I want y'all to tap in with me on my Instagram page. It's You Gotta Love Billy Dee. @ You Gotta Love Billy Dee. And of course, the D has 2 E's after it because I got so much sauce. You can also find me at IamBillyD.com. That is my website. That is where you can find everything, all my videos, my music, links to my merch, interviews, everything. Find me on Twitter at IamBillyD. All together, no spaces. And yeah, that's it, man. That's everything. I'm also on Facebook. Oh, YouTube, man, is where all my videos are. But I'm on there as I Am Billy Dee, or you can Google I Am Billy Dee and find everything. I'm also on I Am BD. So you can find my acting history if you're into that type of thing, and just tap in, man. I got this album Abundance out with some really cool videos to go with it. And I got more on the way, so tap in now and rock with your boy, I Am Billy Dee. Thank you, brother.
Of course, brother, man. It's DJ Chase, the pregame party mix podcast on all the podcast platforms. YouTube, DJ Chase TV, man. Worldwide Sounds Records, DJ Chase. Follow me on the Instagram _DJ Chase. You want to interview, everything like that, fleetdjchase@gmail.com. Billy Dee Williams, aka Billy Dee. Thank you so much, brother. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna definitely talk after this. So let me just shut this recording off real quick.
Let's go. You're now in the mix with the Worldwide Sounds Records. Every day. DJ Chase, lock it in. You know the vibe.